Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Gina and you're watching the Pink Trellis. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I propagate my plants. And specifically, we're going to be working with Hoyas today. So I thought I'd start out by showing you a couple of the plants I'm going to be propagating today. So the first one is this Hoya Mathilde. And you can see that it's just, it could use a pruning. I have wrapped this around the trellis so many times, and it's a prolific grower for me. And this next one we'll be working with is my Hoya Rebecca, which also grows quite well for me, and it could stand a trimming. So I'm sure there are a few of you out there who have never propagated your Hoyas before, and you're not exactly sure how to do it, where to start, and it can be intimidating. I was there at one point, and I watched a few videos, but once you get the hang of it, once you attempt it, and once you are successful with it, you're not going to want to stop. So right now we're sitting in my office, and there's not a whole lot of space in this room. So I have everything set up out in my living room. So we're going to head over there and we're going to get started. So let's go. All right, so we're here in my living room, and I have everything set up that I use when I propagate my plants. So I'll just go ahead and go through each of the items that I use. Probably the most important ingredient I use when I propagate would be my sphagnum moss. This is the medium I use for growing roots on my cuttings. So I've already prepped my sphagnum moss. I take the dry moss, put it in the bowl, and then I fill the bowl with water and get it real soaked, and then I just wring the moss out. So there's no water left in this bowl. And it's nice and wet, but not too wet, and it's perfect. It's ready to accept some cuttings. So another item you're going to need would be some shears. I use these. You can use any pair of scissors. You just want something nice and sharp. So that's mine. And then also, to go with your shears, you're going to want some rubbing alcohol. And this is to clean your shears. I clean my shears before I start, and then in between, if I'm moving from plant to plant, before I go to the next plant, I clean them again. All right, so the next thing, you're also going to need some sort of vessel to put your cuttings in. So I like to use these little plastic nursery cups. I think they're like a 3-inch size. And I just fill these with my moss, like this. And it is ready for its first cutting. So before we get cutting, I want to set out my little soil mat that I just picked up. Isn't this adorable? I picked this up at my local garden shop. I had a $5 coupon, and normally I probably wouldn't have bought this, but because I had that $5 coupon, I went ahead and got it because it's so darn cute. So this will protect my working surface, and it's cute. So we're going to go ahead and clean our shears first, so I don't forget about that, because I think that's an important step. I just use a cotton ball, and I clean the shears. Get rid of any bacteria that might be on those shears. So the first plant that I want to propagate from is going to be my Hoya Mathilde, which you guys saw just a little bit ago. And I'm really excited about propagating this plant because there's this one strand on this plant, and this is it here, that is super splashy. It's just has extra silvery coloring on it. And I've been wanting to create a plant of just that, just a super splashy Mathilde. So I've been hesitant to cut from it before, but since this plant is so overgrown right now, you can't even really see the splashy strand. So I figure, well, why not? Let's just cut it, make some plants out of it, and hopefully we'll have a plant that is entirely, well, we'll have a few plants that are entirely this extra splashy. So the hardest part of this is going to be separating that one strand, which I have wrapped around this trellis. So I need to find the end. I think this is it right here. Yeah, it is. Woo, I got lucky. All right, so I got it. This is the strand that I want to propagate from. You can see it's, hopefully you can see, it's extra splashy. And I'll probably cut it, let's see, probably cut it up to here. So before we do that, I just want to give you a little bit of plant anatomy here. All right, so I want to show you where we're going to make our cuts. So where the leaves come out on your stems, this is your node. So basically this is where new growth comes out and where roots will grow from. So this is a node here. This is a node here. And then in between, there's some like aerial roots, which you may be able to see right there. So some roots can come out of that as well. So when we make our cut, we're going to cut right here above this node. So then this will be our first cutting. And I typically like to get at least 2 leaves per cutting. This one, oh, it even has a peduncle, and it's got some baby leaves on the way. I'm almost debating making my, actually I think I will. My first cut will be these 2 leaves and these 2 leaves. So there'll be 4 leaves on this cutting. And I'm actually going to keep this one for myself because I want an all splashy plant. I don't want to just give them all away. So we'll make our first cut right here, right above this node. So let's go ahead and make that first cut. How easy is that? So here it is. Another thing with Hoyas, when you make your cuts, you're gonna see this, see that? This waxy white substance, which some people do have irritation to, so you wanna be careful with that. I personally have never had any issues with it, but some people do. So here is our first cut. So it's recommended that you let this callus over before you plant it or before you stick it in whatever medium you're going to be using. Personally, I have never done that, and I've never had an issue with it. I believe they say that so that you don't get any rot on your stems when you put it freshly into your medium. But like I said, I've never had an issue with that, and because of the filming, I can't wait 24 hours to, I mean I could, but I don't want to wait 24 hours to video again for you guys. So we're just going to put this directly into our propagating medium. And for this one, I'm actually going to put this into water because I'm keeping this for myself, and I want to, eventually I want to pot this in pon. So lately I've been getting into the lechuza pon, except I make my own pon. And so I like to water root when I do that, just because it's an easier transition than going from like soil to pon. This is just water roots right into pon, and it's been working out great for me. And I don't want to get too much into the pon because that's something I want to make a video about in the future. So, but we're going to put this in water today. All right, so let's move this out of the way for a second here. And I already have my little jar of water, and this, the waxy stuff is all dried up. So I am just going to set this right into my jar, like that. And it will root, and then I will put it into its permanent container. But that should root pretty quickly. So there's our first propagation. Set that aside. All right, so now we need to get some more plants to propagate. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the cut up here where I showed you I was gonna make the cut. And we're gonna make some plants out of this. So, like I said before, I like to have at least 2 leaves per propagation cup. So we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 plants right here. 4 future beautiful splashy Mathilde plants. So we'll go ahead and make our cuts. So this will be 1 plant here. We're going to cut right above this node, just like that. So there is our first, or actually our second, because I did the other one, but this is our first for the moss. All right, so now we're gonna make another cut, and there, and there. So we have our moss ready to go. So I just make a little, just open it up a little bit so it's easy to stick the little plants in there. Like a little hole there for them. And I'm just gonna dab off some of the waxy stuff and just drop it right in there. Like that. Put the little moss around it. So I like to make sure that the node is sitting on the moss, because you will get some roots that will come out of there, as well as the stem where the aerial roots are that I showed you. But I just like to have it kind of snug right in there like that. So we'll go ahead and put our next one in. So we'll make another little hole for it. This is our next one. How pretty that is. And we just set it right in. Actually, I'm gonna cut this stem a little bit because that's a little bit long. And I can't get it snug against the moss when it's too long. Dab off the wax and stick it right in. Like that. So here we have 4 new potential plants. And I absolutely cannot wait to see how these grow. So I don't typically put my propagations up for sale till about 3 months. So I'm doing this for the fall, and it's going to be so fun to watch them grow. I'm really excited about that. Really splashy, that super splashy Mathilde, just gorgeous. All right, so the next plant that I want to propagate today with you guys is this Hoya Krohniana Super Silver. And it is stunning. And I've never propagated this one, so I'm really anxious to make some new plants out of this one. I have wrapped this one because it was getting so long, so I need to find the end. Here we go. So let's see here. Oh, it's so long. Look at this. So I don't want to make too many cuts. Gotta decide how many plants I want to make out of this. All right, so I think this first one is going to be a pretty big one. There's a lot of stem here. And there's little leaves coming out all over. So these are actually fairly new leaves here. They're still kind of, they haven't really hardened all that much. I think I'm going to make my first cutting here. So this is going to be a pretty big plant. So it's the same anatomy. We're cutting between the nodes. So since we're onto a new plant, I went ahead and sterilized my shears again, so we don't transfer any sort of bacteria between plants. And we're making our first cut. So that is it. Look at all that sap. I'm going to dab that off. And that is our first Krohniana Super Silver cut. So let's get our moss in our cup. Get a little place for it to set in, make our little indentation, and setting it right in. And there's our first. All right, so for this plant, I'm just going to make 3 propagations or 4 propagations out of it. So I already made one, so I'm going to cut. This will be the next one, then this, and then this one. So we're going to make our cut above that node there. And we've got 3 more plants out of this one stem. So we're going to cut. And cut again. So drippy. And I already got my cups ready for them. Really not much to propagating, as you can see. Super easy. It's just, I know it can be intimidating to do it. For me it was at first, but it's so easy to do. So there we have our next potential plants. If all goes well, which I don't have any doubt that it won't, we'll have some beautiful Krohniana Super Silver plants. And these will be available in my shop. So 4 of those. Let's put this back together here. And look, I have all this extra space now. It still looks beautiful even though I cut it. So I still have 3 more plants that I wanted to propagate today here. I'm probably going to do 1 more with you guys because it's the same process over and over again, and I'm worried it's going to be boring for you guys. So I'm still going to do it. I'm just going to do it off camera, and then I'll show you guys everything once it's done. So the next plant I'm going to work on with you guys is the Hoya Sunrise. And I just noticed it has its first peduncle. So we'll see if that actually flowers or not. But I think because that peduncle is right there, I think we're gonna do I think I'm just gonna make 3 propagations out of this plant. So let's go ahead and sterilize our shears since we're on to the next plant. So we'll go ahead and make our first cut right above that node, like that. So I went ahead and, well, I need to do it again. I had dabbed off the wax. So this will be our first plant right here. So I'm going to cut it right here. That's plant number 1. And our next one will be a 2-leaf cutting. We're going to cut it right above the node. And then this is our 3rd plant. I don't have to do any cutting with this one. I have our little cup ready with the moss. We'll make a little indentation for the cutting to go into. It's our first. And stick it right in there. And kind of push it into the moss so it's covered with moss and those beautiful roots can grow. Do the same with the next one. Just like that. Just like that. So now we have 3 future Hoya Sunrise plants. So I went ahead and got the remainder of my propagations done. We have some Krohniana black. Okay, I did 3 of those. One that's long. And we have some Hoya Rebecca, which is one of my favorite plants. And that is it. I did want to show you what these potentially will look like in about 3 months or so. So this is the Hoya Mathilde that we propagated together. And hopefully in a few months' time, it's going to look like this. It doesn't take long. So this is the Mathilde Splash, and it's available in my shop right now at thepinktrellis.com. So if you're interested in purchasing, this one is available. I have this gorgeous Carnosa compacta variegata. So pretty. I love the pink. And here is a Hoya Rebecca that's available in my shop. So I did this on my own. I made this, and then in a few months it should be looking like that. It's so rewarding to do these propagations. And then last is this Hoya Krohniana. So together we did the Super Silver. Hopefully in a few months we'll be looking like this. So hopefully you learned a little something about how to propagate some Hoyas. At least this is my method, and it's always worked out really well for me, and I've had a lot of success using this method, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how these propagations turn out. And I will be sure to show you guys in the future. And then also you can watch for them on my website, thepinktrellis.com, and that's where I sell my propagations, and you'll see these guys again on there, hopefully with tons of new beautiful growth, because it's just so rewarding when we recreate new plants. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. It really would help my channel to grow. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.